Hey guys, Ricardo with Phastek Performance, and today I'm here to show you how to install the cold air Inductions cold air intake on the 2016 Camaro SS. Alright guys, now before we get started, I wanted to go ahead and go over what you actually get in the kit. You're going to get these installation instructions right here in this nice little packet here. It comes with a sticker and the installation instructions and an extra set screw just in case you lose the one that's already on here. Here's the MAP sensor housing, the metal housing. You see it's nice coated, pretty thick. You got the two clamps that are going to be used to seal together the intake portion of it for the vacuum ports. You got your filter here, intake tube, and your intake box. Now what I laid out here are also the tools that you'll need. So we'll need a ratchet, T20 Torx, 10mm wrench, flat blade screwdriver, a pair of pliers, 2.5 T-handle Allen wrench, and a 3mm Allen wrench. Those are some of the basic tools, so we'll go ahead and get started. Now here we are on the back half of the car where we'll start. We're going to go ahead and start by taking off this panel right here so we can get to the negative battery cable. We're going to go ahead and disconnect that before we remove the intake box. So we got that loose. Pull it off right there and just lay it off to the side. We'll come back and reconnect that once we're done with the intake. Alright guys, now here we are under the hood. Now what we're going to start by doing is we're going to take off this hose here. We're going to disconnect it here, which actually we can go ahead and do right now. This little gray tip right here, gray point right there, squeeze that, it pops right off. So we'll get that out of the way. Then we'll start by removing this intake tube, and then we'll get the box out of the way. Take our pliers. Get a twist here, and it pulls right off. We'll take our flat blade screwdriver and work on the elbow. Now we'll go ahead and work on getting this air box here. You'll have this tube that sits back here, and all you need to do with that tube is take the factory clip, loosen it up a little bit, and pull that tube out of the way. That tube will go ahead and just sit there once we get the cold air Inductions box back in. Now the box itself simply pulls up out of the rubber grommets. You'll have 3 rubber grommets. Once you got it pulled up enough, that'll give us access to the MAP sensor. We're going to go and take that off right here. Take our 1/4-inch ratchet and our T20 Torx. We'll go ahead and loosen those screws. Once we have the screws out of the way, we can take the sensor, carefully pull it out of its spot. We'll just lay it off to the side until we're ready to go back together with the box. From here, move our hose out of the way and take the factory box and simply remove it. Now you'll see here those 3 tabs right there, 1, 2, and 3. Alright guys, now that we have the factory piece off, we're going to go ahead and take a look at this aftermarket piece from Cold Air Inductions. Now what they're going to tell you to do in the instructions is we're going to reuse these 2 pieces right here. The way to take those off is you'll see these little clamps right here. Those clamps, we're going to take our screwdriver and we're going to loosen up those clamps so we can get these pins out. So we're going to go show you how to do that real quick. Take our screwdriver and just right in between the factory clamp. It is going to ruin the factory clamp, but we're not going to reuse it, so it's going to be okay. Now that we go both of them out, we're going to go ahead and put them back in the cold air Inductions intake. They're both going to go in the same spot. just like the factory pieces. Now that we have that assembled, we're going to go and take the clamps that they provide with the kit, and we're going to go put those on as well. These clamps are a squeeze clamp, so we'll get those as tight as we can by hand, and then we'll come back with our pair of pliers and squeeze them just a little bit more to create a good seal. Alright, now that we have this assembled, we'll go ahead and start by putting in the box, the MAP sensor housing, and we'll get the intake finished up. Alright guys, so here we are back under the hood. Now the first thing we're going to do, we're going to go put the box in place. What I did is I removed the shield and I put the filter in first. If you read the instructions, it kind of tells you to put the filter in first. It makes it a little easier once you have the whole assembly. Now we're going to go ahead and put this in place. We'll line it up with the factory grommets. Factory grommets do have to go back on. So once we got it lined up, we'll give it a simple push, and they'll pop right in place. Now, in some cars, you do have to kind of move this AC line that's down here at the bottom. You do have to move that out of the way a little bit. A simple push down will get it right out of the way. So the next thing we'll do, take our MAP sensor housing, and you can see there's a little arrow right here. That is basically going to line up with the dot that's put on the heat shield itself. So what we'll do is kind of get that lined up as best we can. Before we do that, though, we're going to go and put the sensor back in place. Now it does come with new screws, so you don't have to worry about finding an extra set of screws. It comes with new ones that we'll put right back in place, and they'll hold the sensor right back in the factory location. So we'll hold the filter here on this side and line it up as best we can. Once we got it lined up there, we're going to go ahead and tighten down that clamp, just so that way the sensor housing doesn't move and it stays right in place where we want it. Now that we got that tight, we'll go ahead and take the main portion of the intake and we'll slip it in place. Alright, now once we got everything where we want it, we'll go ahead and take our screwdriver here, see if we can get it adjusted, so that way it lines up just right. Get our clamp over here for the throttle body. Loosen that a little bit so we can get it slid over in place. And we'll tighten it down. Now, here we are with the factory connections. All this one's going to do is reconnect in the factory place. Once you hear it click, it's set in place. We'll take our pliers here, squeeze this clamp so we can slide it back on. So now what we'll do is we'll go ahead and get the heat shield put on and finish it off. And there we have it. We'll reconnect the battery in the back and we'll go ahead and start the car, and then we have it done.